G'day and welcome back to RC Model Reviews. I found a plane that excites me and here it is, look at that. Ooh, see that? It's the HobbyKing Ridge Ryder. And what's a Ridge Ryder? Well, it's a flying wing obviously. Where's the motor? It doesn't have one. It doesn't have a motor because it's a slope soarer. And many years ago when I was much younger and thinner and not more handsome, just as handsome as I am now, I used to live for slope soaring. I loved slope soaring. I lived in a part of the world where there were plenty of slopes, plenty of hills, and always a constant breeze. And it was great. I could go out with a packed lunch, climb a hill, and I could fly all day. And this is back in the days of long wire and NiCads and things, because a couple of servos and a lightly loaded model didn't draw much out of the batteries. It was wonderful. And this is the kind of thing that really excites me now, because this is another slope soaring model. Brilliant. I'm liking the look of this. Now, this was one of the easiest builds I've ever done. It's an ARF. It comes, all you got to do is glue these wingtips on. You can see that there's it's kind of a pattern there where these go together like a jigsaw puzzle, bit of glue. They provide the glue. It's pretty crap glue, but I used it anyway. Comes with the servos installed, a couple of little servos, and all you've got to do is put in a receiver and a battery. Now, one of the cool things also, if we look inside here, there are some ballast tubes. What's a ballast tube? If you've never flown gliders, you probably don't know why you'd use those, but those are there because on windy days, you want a heavier model so it penetrates better into the wind. Certainly with slope soaring. If the wind is so strong your model can't make headway, you can't fly, it'll just get blown over the back of the hill. Put some ballast in the ballast tubes and it'll fly faster, therefore it can fly out, penetrate into where the lift is. That's what you want. So yeah, brilliant. It comes with weights as well and some foam inserts so that the weights won't rock around inside. Now, it says use a 2-cell LiPo in a BEC or something. The servos are rated to 7.2 volts, but that, as we know, a fully charged 2-cell LiPo is 8.4 volts. So I wouldn't recommend using a 2-cell LiPo in this model because it'll probably toast your servos even if your receiver is able to handle it. But what I've used is the Zippy 1100 mAh LiFe pack, because that is 6.6 volts. It's low enough voltage for the servos to run directly, and most receivers will run directly on it, so you don't need to use a UBEC. It's the simplicity itself. I've used these little LiFe packs for a long time on nitro-powered models. They're brilliant, they're wonderful. So, and it's the perfect weight. The CG is in the ideal place with one of those packs in there. And I was going to use a D4R2 receiver, but I found this D6FR receiver, which happened to lie around. And even that's quite big and bulky, but it still fits in here quite nicely and easily. And again, the CG's in the perfect place. Brilliant, absolutely wonderful. Now, this is, once you put your gear in, the hatch is retained with nice strong magnets. So it's, I didn't even bother making a place for the antennas. They just poke out the side of the hatch. Did this real quickly. It took me, I think, like 6.5 minutes to get this from out of the box into flying shape, that apart from the amount of time the glue took to dry, and it ready to fly. Now, the only problem I've got is that I don't live in a part of the country anymore where the hills are ideally suited to slope soaring. In fact, one of the remarkable features of this part of the world is that every hill has a bigger hill in front of it. So there's not many hills that will give you any lift around here, and a lot of them are pretty small too. So, and there's a lot of forestry and things. So finding a place to fly this has been a real difficult job, especially with our new regulations here in New Zealand that say you can't just roll up, park on the side of the road and throw your model out over a nearby hill. You've got to get permission of the people who own the hill, and even just finding out who owns the hill is a bigger problem. Then getting their permission, it's crippling the hobby in this country. Really, the regulators need to wake up and sort that out once and for all, because it's just totally madness. So I didn't have anywhere to fly this except the hill here on the airfield, Microsoft Hill, which you've all seen in the X-Jet videos. And of course, that's a really small hill. And it's also, there wasn't much wind on the day I went out to have a go at this, but I went up there anyway and I gave it a throw. And I was surprised that even with virtually no wind and in a very, very shallow contour on a hill that's not designed for soaring, so there was a very, very concentrated lift, which was barely enough to keep it up when it flew through, I still got some really good fun flights out of it. I didn't get to stay up continuously. I was losing height all the time, but I just really enjoyed it. And it shows this model is a really nice flying model. It has a very, very soft stall. It's very maneuverable. It's in its unballasted form. It's really light so that it'll fly on a slightest bit of lift, a ridge lift, which is great. But I'm sure once we ballast this up, it'll fly in a hurricane. Brilliant. I like this model. I give this, considering how quickly it goes together, how well designed, how well it flies, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. This is a really good model. I wasn't expecting that from this model, and a lot of the people I've shown it to have said, "Where's the motor?" But they've never enjoyed the joy of slope soaring, and it's, to this day, it remains something I really enjoy doing. So I have to find some hills. I have to go further afield, find a hill, find out who owns it, convince them to let me fly on it, see what happens. But this is going to, especially when the equinoctial winds kick in, and for slope soaring, of course, you really want winds, and we're getting now, in this part of the world, we're getting down towards autumn, fall, if you live in America. So I'm looking forward to having a ball with this over the next few months, and I'll be posting some videos when I've done that. But in the meantime, you know, here's some more of the video that I took from the little hill out in the middle of the paddock here by the airfield, where there was virtually no wind. I'm sorry, it was overcast and dull. It's the best I can do, but given the conditions I'm operating under. But there you go. This is good. If you fly slope, you'll love this. Go buy it. It's not expensive. Thanks for watching. Time for me to get back to the bench. Bye for now. Stay up in this front. Really aren't. But this is just such a brilliant machine for these marginal conditions. Excellent. I've had a slope soared for probably 30 years. No, be more than that. Been going on 40 years. And still having a ball. Nearly have enough lift, but not quite. The lift just isn't broad enough around this hill to stay in long enough. No, can't stay in the lift long enough to maintain our altitude. But there you go. That is the HobbyKing Ridge Rider. Sorry I don't have better conditions to try it in, but if I can keep it up for as long as I have in this type of wind, then I think it's a pretty sure bet. Given a decent slope, it should fly really, really well.